Hey guys, welcome back. I'm back from the Halo World Championships and back on the ONI and Flood and Halo lore video grind. And today we are going to be talking about something that is probably the biggest grey area in the Halo universe, and actually in the real life universe too, so there's going to be some real life lore in this video as well. And that is whether or not ONI are a necessary evil in the Halo universe. Now, the past month or so, we've been looking at ONI and all of the fucked up disturbing stuff that they've done in the Halo universe. But we haven't touched on how some of this is technically beneficial for humanity as a species. Now, I want to preface this video by talking about a real life example of this like I just mentioned, and that is the whole NSA and government spying situation. So, over the past couple decades, there's been this massive sort of social discussion about whether governments should be spying on their citizens, and whether mass surveillance is an ethical thing or whether it's unethical, right? And the argument is two-sided, because technically mass surveillance can help, because obviously if the government are watching all of us, then they can catch those few bad people who are going to do bad shit. But how many of our civil liberties are we willing to give up in order to let the government do this? There's a line, and some people believe that that line has been crossed. Now, this can be sort of transferred over to the Halo universe in the case of the Office of Naval Intelligence, because, like I said, although a lot of the stuff that ONI do is, no doubt, extremely fucked up, you can't argue that some of it isn't, a net benefit for humanity overall. For example, let's look at some of the stuff that they've done, some of the stuff that they've done to benefit humanity. So first off, we have all of the stuff that they've done with the elites, right, with the Swords of Sanghelios. So as we know, since the end of the Human Covenant War, ONI have done a lot of undercover bad shit to ensure that the elites, and specifically the Arbiters faction, the Swords of Sanghelios, couldn't rise up one day and start a war with humanity. And although, considering the elites did help us win the war, this sounds really shady, it does make sense, right? Because when you think about it, we killed billions, and I mean billions, of elites during the war. And of course, they also killed billions of ours during the war, but nevertheless, that doesn't mean that the elites don't have an axe to grind with humanity still, because they definitely do. And only keeping them down and ensuring that they can never reach a level of power where they could truly fight back and do some damage, it is in humanity's best interest, considering how we treated them during most of the war. If they wanted to just retaliate one day, they would definitely have good reason to do so, just like we would to them, technically. There's even hints of this maybe even happening during Halo 3, that speech towards the end of Floodgate, where Artas sort of stands up and makes a stand against Lord Hood. You can tell that, that isn't exactly that good of an alliance. That alliance is only there because the Covenant exists. It's honestly a wonder that after the war, the elites didn't just decide to take up arms and fight back against humanity. The Arbiter and Artas in particular are, very much to thank for that not happening. There's also the case of the Mona Lisa too, the prison ship that was converted into a Flood research facility. Now, you'd think automatically that the humans testing the Flood on other humans is immediately fucked up and should never be done, and although I kind of do agree with that, it's not like ONI were doing it with purely negative intentions, right? So they wouldn't just test the Flood for no reason. They were looking for a cure. They were looking for some form of method to get around it, to avert the Flood or something. Granted, they never found anything, and the consequences of what they did were astronomical, or at least almost astronomical, but their intentions were good, at least for humanity's greater good. Honestly, it'd be kind of stupid and neglectful if the Flood existed and humanity didn't try and find a cure for it. And of course, seeing as the main target of the Flood is humanity, you'd have to test humans. At some point, you would have to begin human experimentation. Obviously, they needed to find a cure. There's no real other way they could do it apart from testing on humans. And as bad as it sounds, they were doing the testing on people that had tried to kill billions of humans. So I don't want to defend it, but it does make sense given the situation. The Spartan program as well, which is the biggest grey area in the entirety of the Halo universe. Of course, that was done by ONI, and you've got to take into account that although yes, it did involve a lot of extremely shady human experimentation and augmentation, and also the kidnapping of children, which is undoubtedly fucked up. It did literally save not even billions of lives, like, it saved the entire human race. So you've got to really weigh up the pros and cons, and it really comes down to sort of like a personal debate as to whether or not the kidnapping of God knows how many children and the human experimentation on them was worth it to save humanity. That's something that doesn't have an objective answer. That's sort of like the tone of this entire video, really. Like, there's no objectively right or wrong answer to this. It's more of just like an opinion type thing. That said, there is definitely some stuff that ONI have done that's like just objectively fucked up that doesn't benefit anybody. Like, for example, their treatment of anybody who gets even remotely close to the truth. Like, for example, Ben Giro in Hunt the Truth. Like, Ben got so close to the truth about the Spartan program, and they fucking locked him up in Midnight Facility and essentially just left him to fester in his own isolation and in pure solitude forever. And we saw what that did to him. And the many other disturbing things they did to keep the truth nailed under lock and key. Like, for example, the many hit jobs they took out on Ben and all the other stuff that went on during Hunt the Truth. On top of this as well, we also have ONI framing Chief for killing innocent civilians, which is just next level fucked up. Like, you take the one person, or at least the main person, who saved humanity from the brink of extinction, and you paint them as some psycho who went and killed innocent civilians. Like, again, that benefits nobody. That does not benefit a single body, and that doesn't work towards any greater good. That's just ridiculous. You've also got Asteroidia, which was that disease that ONI were testing on the Argent Moon, where they had a Forerunner AI which was built and in action during the Forerunner-Flood war, creating this disease from a compound that would like lay dormant inside a host and then all of a sudden just go active and liquefy them from the inside out. Really fucked up shit like that I guess you could make an argument for it being necessary, like if you used it against the Covenant or against like Julian Dharma's faction or something, but I think you could really make a case for that being maybe a little bit too unethical, especially considering that it got out of control and killed everyone on the ship, and also the fact that if they made that, there's a high chance that some rebel faction or insurrectionist faction would end up getting a hold of it, and the damage that they could do against humans with that would be astronomical. So I guess you could consider Asteroidia to be more of a grey area type thing, considering they were testing it on jackals, likely with the intention of using it against the Covenant, but we know that ONI have a history of doing equally fucked up things to humans as well, so who knows what they'd use it for, like in Midnight Facility or something. So I guess then it sort of moves out of the grey area and into the highly unethical area. And then as well, you've got to remember that there's so much stuff in the background that we don't see. Like in real life, there's so much stuff that goes on in the background within like governments and secret government agencies that we never even hear a peep of, that is like probably 10 times more fucked up than anything we know. When you take that into account for ONI, considering what they've done, it's safe to say that they've likely done some extremely fucked up shit that we are yet to hear about. Yes, some of it, like the Flood stuff for example, may be in humanity's best interests, technically, but again, like I was saying at the start of the video, where do you draw the line between humanity's greater good and just stepping into pure, unethical, disturbing shit? Like, a line has to be drawn somewhere. So I think, all in all, this video really was not exactly me answering the question, more like me posing the question, sort of giving evidence on both sides and letting you guys decide, because like the Spartan program, and also like the case of Dr. Catherine Halsey, it really is a personal thing, whether you think that they are fucked up or whether you think they were necessary, because, like, Halsey is the personification of the Spartan program, pretty much. Like, what she did was undoubtedly fucked up, no doubt, but at the same time, it ended up saving humanity from the brink of extinction, so you really just have to make a sort of personal choice as to whether or not you think these things are ethical or not in the greater scheme of things. One other thing as well I want to note is that you've got to wonder what ONI are doing in the background with their information of things like the Forerunner-Flood War and the ancient humans and the precursors. Like, surely they have to be doing some sort of research or technology development based off this information. That's something else that I'd really like to hear more about, maybe in the future, because right now we know that everything that we were told in the Forerunner trilogy of books ONI know about. We just don't know what they're doing with that information, at least yet. So yeah, that's something that I'd like to see. But all in all, like I said, this video is not me answering the question, it's more me posing the question to you guys. So be sure to leave your thoughts, like overall thoughts and comments, and your idea, your personal belief about this in the comments. I'd love to see what the sort of general consensus is about this, and whether what ONI do and the existence of ONI as a body is a necessary evil in the Halo universe. Let me know your thoughts and answers in the comments. I really want to hear them. I want to give a massive, just huge thank you to the patrons TheArdentPrayer, Tomahawk, Taylor Hayden, Evan McBride, Locust, Bruin, Momo, Chris G, Jack Madden, Stefan Curcic, and Eric Brown, and everyone else. While I was away last week, the Patreon like kind of blew up, and I'm legitimately shocked because we have so many new patrons of all tiers. So thank you to everybody supporting me so far, and thank you for the continued support on the channel. It means a lot to me. Thank you very much. Anyways, guys, I really hope you enjoyed this type of video. It was more of like an unscripted discussion type video, and I like doing these things, so if you enjoyed it, then show some support in the likes, the comments, all that cool stuff. Anyways, thanks a lot for watching, guys, and I'll catch you in the next one.